Well, welcome, favorite audience, to the February broadcast of Brainstorms. We've had plenty of brainstorms in the nation. We've got brainstorms within our veterans' brains, some in mine as well. And so we're going to be kind of thoughtful today. We're going to be thinking about and talking to one of my favorite majors, former U.S. Army reservist, who I'll tell you a little bit about him in the future, but we just have a very thought-provoking, thoughtful podcast today. It's a call to action. You're going to have to think, what are you going to do in 2026 to help make the United States of America better? What are you going to do for the 250th birthday? We're coming to you from our wonderful studios, Sycamore Studios in Plain City, through a generous grant from the Fred and June McMurray Foundation in Los Angeles. We thank them every time we podcast that they are able to reach across the country, and now we've actually got a few across the world. I was really happy with last month's podcast picked up in Bali. So you never know where truth will show up. Today we have one of the most favorite people on the planet for me. I will tell you that Major Montgomery Granger was one of the first people I spoke to way back in 2008, 2009, 2010, about the fact that I really was very interested in assisting our veterans with traumatic brain injury, something I had gotten out of myself. I was a klutz. I wasn't a hero. I wasn't courageous. But I said, I think I've got something to offer. And he was very, very helpful. He is, as I stated before, a U.S. Army reservist who was deployed 3 times to the global war on terror. Wrote about it. My first military written book I ever read was his, in Guantánamo Bay. It taught me so much, from the sight, from boots on the ground, what boots on the ground really meant. The interesting thing is, as a reservist, he had to leave a family, a job, a home, a future, not once, not twice, but 3 times when he was kind of at the pinnacle of where he would be in his education career. And we'll talk a little bit about that. The sacrifices that our veterans make are unbelievable, and we just need everyone to understand that. When you look on Amazon, and I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget any of these, when they talk about Major Montgomery Granger, they describe him thus: a Christian, husband, father, educator, veteran. I want to add a national leader, a national joiner. He is definitely one of my greatest heroes, and this podcast only exists because he was the one who pressed me from the beginning and said, keep going, and he's still saying that today. So that's the introduction I'm going to give. We're going to be talking about a little preview of our book, Guarding Our Guardians, Guaranteeing America's Veterans a Future from Deployment to Employment. He's been there. He's done that. He's grabbed thousands with him to do the same thing. And it is my greatest pleasure to introduce Major Montgomery Granger. Thank you for joining us.
Wow. I don't think I've ever gotten an introduction like that before. Thank you so much.
Well,
and I assure you that the pleasure is all mine.
No, it's really true. I told Major Granger, I'm just going to share it with our audience because it is so human. The first podcast I ever went on in my life was a joint one with him. And I'm actually a very shy person. I know people may not believe that, but I don't really like to do this. And I'll be on there with you. There'll be no problem. So it's like 5 minutes before the podcast. And I called him at home. And I go, okay, I'm waiting here. Where are you? He goes, I just got home coaching the kids. I'm going to jump in the shower and I'll be right there. Oh, my glory. And that was my beginning. So we've come a long way, Major. You've pulled me a long way.
We have, and I just wanted to plug Resurrect Lives, at Resurrect Lives on X, which is a social media link that I help out with. So remember that. And I am MJ Granger and the number 1 on X if you want to touch base via social media.
And you were one of the I'm so sorry. You're one of the first people on Twitter when it was Twitter. You were one of the first.
Sure. 2010 I started.
Wow.
To promote veterans issues in my book and just to talk and connect with other veterans. And Resurrecting Lives has saved lives. It should be renamed Saving Lives, because that's what you do every day. I was so honored to be asked to preview the first couple chapters of Guarding Our Guardians. And I guess the subtitle is Guaranteeing Our Veterans a Future from Deployment to Employment.
Correct.
And that's important. I know you had asked me to kind of review some of the things that I went through in the beginning. When I was deployed the first time, things went pretty smoothly at work. Then 6 months after I got back from the first deployment, I had a second deployment. Things still went okay. But then in the spring of 2004, I got orders, or a warning order, that I would be transferred to a unit going over to Iraq for 14-month deployment.
Oh, wow.
I notified my boss, my two bosses, my wife, Sandra, who's my personal hero, and also my boss at work, the superintendent. And he invited me into the office the next day. I thought I was going to be fired, which is completely irrational. But what he said was that he and the school board had a discussion. They wanted me to change jobs. I was a tenured district administrator at the time. I said, could I have a leave of absence? And they said no.
Oh, wow.
So they created a position for me. Now, I knew right away that that was putting me in jeopardy, because in public schools, there's only certain positions that are required by law.
Oh, really?
And the new conglomeration of a job that they offered me was not required. So I knew at any time they could just eliminate it. I didn't feel like I had a choice. So I accepted the job. And when I came back 14 months later, it was there for me. I did the job well, but anyone who's been in public education knows that if the superintendent changes, the school board changes, and they want to save money, they go hunting for, jobs to eliminate. So they did eliminate my job. I did challenge it in federal court. I lost a jury of your peers. They came back after 3 days deadlocked, and the judge said to them, I'll never forget it. He said, compromise.
Compromise.
And then it came, I don't know what that meant.
No.
But then the judgment came back for the school district and not me. And I wasn't even trying to get money.
You just
I was just trying to get my job back.
You have,
That
how
was
many
it.
children did you have?
I have 3 children when I got deployed, those 3 times, and then 2 more. By 2008, I had 5 kids, and that's the year they eliminated my job.
Unbelievable.
They kept me through the spring of 2009, but I knew I was going to be let go at the end of the school year. So
I mean, that's so hard. So that's after your second time that you've served our nation. And I think this is an important thing for our audience to understand. It wasn't just you affected. It's your entire family. And you're from the state of New York, correct? I mean, you think
Yes.
that a state that big can certainly help support a veteran. And actually, in your former job, in the job that should never have been taken away from you, right? Yeah.
But that was tough. And,
That is tough.
what's interesting, and we've had talks before about this, I didn't walk into the VA except right after I got back from Iraq. They made us go in.
Okay.
And it was not the transition that you're talking about in your book that is really necessary. It was, how can I get out of here in the quickest fashion? And there was no sort of decompression. And I didn't walk back into the VA until a couple years ago.
Oh, my golly. That's how many years in between?
A lot. 2005 to maybe 2022.
20 years.
So-
20 years. I mean, that's a long time.
Right.
3 tours of duty. I read your book. You went through an awful lot of things, It's that typical, I don't deserve it, somebody else deserves it more. And what happens out is people just don't get care, period. Yeah.
Sure. But I was near or at retirement, and my health was failing. And I didn't know why, other than common sense was I wasn't sleeping well. I was getting up 2-3 times a night. So I walked myself into the VA. They had a home sleep study program with $3,000 worth of equipment. I know it cost that much because I had to sign for it.
Okay.
I came back and they said, Major Granger, you're having 27 episodes an hour.
Of apnea,
So,
right? It was sleep apnea,
right,
right?
sleep
So you quit
apnea.
breathing 27 times an hour.
So my body wasn't able to heal itself. Long story short, I've been on it for a couple years now. It saved my life. I
Yes.
really believe that. I'd had a heart attack
Uh,
in 2013, a mild heart attack with no heart damage.
uh,
And
well, if I can say
I-
one thing there, Major Granger, there is no such thing as a mild heart attack unless it's somebody, unless it's
that's what the
somebody
doctor
else's, right?
said.
I know, but I said it could be mild if it's somebody else's. But I would like to talk just a moment about the correlation that, as a physician, I see between your tours of duty, all of the stress that you went through at the time of your life, those 40s, 50s. That's when men are most likely to die of a heart attack. I mean, so when you say that, I still believe that we as a nation need to consider all of this as part of our responsibility to make sure you don't get it. Okay, enough said. I'll get off the box right now.
No, I agree with you completely. And that was one of the incidents in my health background that the VA did not include as connected to service in any way. They did
Oh,
include the sleep apnea, tinnitus,
yes.
PTSD. That's all included. I'm a 70% disabled,
Yeah.
which I have a problem with the whole, cut us up into percentages.
Right.
The word disabled
Mm.
is not something that military
No.
people are used to hearing.
Mm-mm.
We hear that word and we go, "Whoa, I'm able. I can do it.
Right.
Point me
Exactly.
in the right direction. I want to accomplish
Exactly.
the mission." But nobody said, "Hey, Sarge, I only want to give 20% or risk 20% on this mission." Okay,
Right.
uh, we
Right.
risked 100% of the time. And I don't remember Abraham Lincoln in the second inaugural address saying, only care for part of the veteran that we can determine was service related. He said, care for those
Exactly.
who had borne the battle,
Yeah.
an unqualified statement.
Yeah.
So my introduction to VA healthcare was a rude awakening.
Uh,
Uh, and I ended up having to tell my PTSD story to 8 different
and
people
that's
before I got trauma therapy.
unconscionable. That's trauma in itself. I mean, that's adding trauma to do that over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I understand a lot better um, that horrible statistic of 17 to 22 veteran suicides a
A,
day.
a
And
horrible
I
statistic.
think it's so unimaginable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real
Right.
to people that they just gloss over it. And my question would be, if Elon Musk had 17 to 22 of his employees killing themselves every day, what would he do?
Oh, that's a great that is a
What
great
would he
question.
say?
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think maybe we can all agree that we would probably stop everything, get his managers, some employees
Exactly.
together, and some psychiatrists and say, "What's going
Yeah.
on?"
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
not start back up again until they had a solution. Um,
Absolutely. That is a great point. And that's one of the points I tried to make in the book. My previous life, prior to getting to know you, back when I was a physician, in the corporate world, I was blessed to be Hunt of America's medical director, their first medical director, to kind of get them started. And I was just amazed at what that particular company did to accommodate their associates. They don't even call them employees. They're associates, what they did, what they fact. And I then jump ahead like 10 years and I'm volunteering at the VA and I'm thinking, between the corporate world, my goodness, what is going on here? To me, your wounds of war came from the Department of War. You were working for the Department of Defense then, Department of War now. But when you're released, and that's one of my points in the book, they've got no accountability for what happened to you there because the VA is supposed to take care of it. Well, the VA can't take care of what people aren't led to do, and the VA is having trouble talking within itself and talking. So, those are some of the points we bring up in the book. You're absolutely right. Those are things that the employer is responsible for.
And the privilege of reading your book, it just makes so much sense. You say it's not a story of despair, but a call to action.
Absolutely.
And in your dedication, you dedicate the book to all guardians and their families who sacrifice to protect our freedoms.
Yes.
And then you got a great quote from David J. Shulkin, MD, former Secretary of Veterans Affairs, said, caring for veterans is not charity. It's an obligation of citizenship. And I think that hit the nail on the head for me, and hopefully it resonates with other veterans as well, and with uh, American citizens at large.
And you know what?
Uh,
I think that people don't know these. And you since you are you're my guru. When I ask you about it, I said, no, people really don't. They really believe that everything is taken care of. You leave, you're given a pathway to education and employment and healthcare, but you literally get none of that. I mean, you get a pathway to the war theater that's a lot of training and a lot of, oversight. And then you're just kind of released. I mean, for the young man and woman who have just left after high school, they say, well, they just have trouble reintegrating. I go, they've never been there. It's not like they're reintegrating. They went from high school to a war theater. I mean, help them when they
and
come
I think
back.
you're right. And I think it's more critical
It
now
is.
because when I went to high school, it was a comprehensive high school. We
Okay.
had things like bachelor and bachelorette living
Okay.
that showed you how to write a first and
Yeah.
last month's check and do home repairs.
Yeah.
And, it was a more practical education that we got. And now, pretty much all kids do with their hands is hold their phone.
As an
They don't
educator.
necessarily know which screwdriver fits what or what the hammer does
Yeah,
or,
right.
any of that stuff.
Right.
So it's more critical now to help the younger generation in their
I
transition
believe.
into civilian life than ever before, I think.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that a lot of the frustrations, the the inability to get treatment for an undiagnosed and, kind of maybe, or even underdiagnosed traumatic brain injury, dealing with being in a war theater. Like, I mean, I hope everybody reads your book about Guantanamo Bay because the conditions there were things that I thought only existed on a movie screen. You know what I mean? And they're not. And I think that we're the civilian population. We're 99% of the resources right now. It's time for us to step up. And to your point, employers also to step up. If you have somebody, 17 to 22, and all of us in the trenches, you included, that's a low number. We now have over 35,000 young men or women who have taken their own lives from the global war on terror compared to the 7,000 in combat. And that's on all of us. That's on us as a nation. We will do better in 2026 and for the next 250 years. And it starts here. It starts today. It starts with that February. There's nothing else to do because it's too cold and snowy out there. So think about what you're going to do in the spring.
Exactly. I wanted to share also, because I had the privilege of reading the book, the first two chapters, that one of the reasons, this is your quote now, one of the reasons that God had given me my voice back because you had suffered from a TBI was so that I could speak up for those who had lost theirs. And no one knows, I think, better than you, what these men and women go through because you've been through it yourself. And I thought that was such a resonating quote. And then to hold the book, Guarding Our Guardians. At first I said, we're not guardians, that's Space Force. But then I thought about it. It's actually perfect. It's descriptive, it's inclusive, it's cool. I don't know how you came up with that. How'd you come up with Guardians?
I came up with it because I was tired of the term veterans. I think it rolls off everybody's tongue way too easy. So many times when I would be at a presentation or just even walking through the airport and I'm wearing my resurrecting lights, oh yeah, I support veterans. I go, oh really? Do you? What is it that you do? Silence. Well, I attend the parades. I go, That's wonderful. And that's real true. But do you check and see what their plight is? Do you see what's happening in the VA and otherwise? Are you, by any chance, in touch with your own congressman or your own mayor, to see what can be done for them? The truth is, they don't know what's going on. And I think that more and more people would be helpful. So I said, what are they really? And it was, again, in an airport. I think God speaks to you with people waiting in line first. Today is the anniversary. Southwest no longer has, the lineup where everybody rushes to get on the plane first. And God bless Southwest, who has flown our veterans everywhere. They've been wonderful. But I was standing yesterday and I go, they're more than veterans. He goes, yeah, my dad called them the Guardians. Well, he's from Ohio. We were leaving from the Columbus airport. We have, our red, white, and blue baseball team, the Guardians. And I go, that is truly what they are. And he said, my dad always told us, they don't guard your freedoms. They guard your dreams. I mean, that really hits you, doesn't it? I mean, your whole future depends on them. And then when they get back, literally, so many of them give up every future. And it's not just their future. If you take your life when you're in your 20s or 30s and you don't have any children and there's no grandchildren you affect, they say now, one person who dies by suicide affects at least 32 people in their immediate surroundings. And so, at least. And so you tell that to Mr. Musk, bless you, we're not picking on you. We see you as somebody who may be able to change this. I mean, you've got to do something. That is our obligation. So that's how I kind of came up with Guardians. I also, in our first podcast of this year, we showed the piece, The Guardians, the creative art piece that I kind of saw in my eye that I asked Chief Paisano to make. And it has, the battlefield cross, the signature of a funeral in the battlefield with the angel wings around it. And I happened to call our heroes that we started this particular Resurrecting Life Foundation for our archangels. And I said, and the rest of them that come back, they're all guardian angels. So I'm big with that, the other world coexists with ours. And I wasn't so big on it until I interviewed over 1,000 young men and women who had been in the battlefield and feel that presence of something else with them. And I'm sure you've had those experiences too.
Absolutely. I think one of the important things that I found in the first couple chapters of your book is that you recommend a full-time structural D-boot camp.
That was
So,
Dr. Thakur, who is a VA psychiatrist. He came up with that. Dr. Hermat Thakur, whose nickname is Megamind, and he fits that nickname, let me tell you. And I had not thought of it. I thought there needs some decompression, but D-boot camp. So please expand on that.
it's kind of interesting because it goes back to our training.
Yes.
So our training is focused on details. The difference between safe and semi, front towards enemy, no step on,
Okay.
things of that nature.
Okay.
When we get inspected, we have to have the socks, a certain,
Wow. Okay.
way. But when you get to the VA, it's not like that.
Okay.
You have weeds between the cracks of the concrete, the urine smell in the bathroom. It's institutionalized.
Yes.
You show your ID at the front gate, but then when you walk up to the receptionist, and this is nothing against them, everyone I've met in the VA has been absolutely wonderful. They don't even look at you and they say last name, last four. And even though we pay attention to detail, we're very adaptable. That's what we're trained to be, adaptable, adapt and overcome. So we get used to it. But it's kind of like settling.
It is
It's kind of like there's a disconnect between the customer and the provider. We're the customer, but it doesn't feel like that all of the time. But I think, the D-boot camp to not only decompress, but deprogram the veteran.
For sure. Because
especially my combat brothers and sisters who have seen the worst of the worst. They need deprogramming.
And generally, when you get out and you're deployed back to the civilian world, what is it like? what my vets had described it to me as a 5-day death by PowerPoint. You will do this, you will do
Yeah,
that.
it's a complete turnoff, and I think they missed the point the whole way. But I think the most important thing that I got out of the book so far,
Yes.
and a thing where I think you and I can bridge a gap that we may have in how to move forward,
Yes.
is journaling.
Oh,
So
good.
journaling is, I think, essential. It's what got me through Gitmo in Iraq. It's how I wrote my book, Saving Grace at Guantánamo Bay,
Okay.
from the journal I kept while I was there.
Right.
And journaling is a wonderful way to um, get a true picture of what happened to you.
Yeah.
If you do it consistently and honestly, it can save a life.
Yeah.
And the act of journaling is essential, I think, from boot camp to deboot
Yes. Yes.
and into the future as a veteran. It's important to write down what happens to you, what you think and feel about it, etc.
Yeah.
So, aces on that.
Well, when you talk about saving grace at Guantanamo Bay, you're speaking to, you were the first person who I'm sitting there thinking, this guy's a war. I mean, and you're in a terrible, the environment so void of any joy or even love or camaraderie between you and, it's nothing like Hogan's Heroes. It was nothing quite of like that. I mean, we're talking, you were saying that even if you write like 2 or 3 or 4 lines, even if you're exhausted, just what happened that day, that you can come back to it, learn from it, and go forward.
And that's how I wrote the book,
Okay.
because some days were tougher than others. Some days I didn't have as much to write about. So it gave me a chance to recollect from these keywords and phrases and activities to what happened and why.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people don't understand that the U.S. is the best. In fact, the International Committee of the Red Cross physicians I worked with in Gitmo and Iraq both told me that no one does detention operations better than the U.S. You'd never know it by all the stories that come out,
Right.
or even the photographs that accompany the stories. I read one last week,
Oh, yeah.
a new story, but they had that old photograph of a detainee, kneeling in the gravel with the orange jumpsuit and the sensory deprivation. And that was a holding area before they were in process. They were in there for maybe 5 to 45 minutes tops.
Yeah.
But the impression when I asked people about the photos, oh, they were kept there all day, every day. You guys tortured them. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. The ICRC was there every day.
Yeah.
The press, and Don Rumsfeld, in his book Known and Unknown, his autobiography, said that he let the press be too close.
Yeah.
Because all those pictures are out of context. We treated them with dignity and respect. And I think every American, if they knew the truth about how they were kept, would be proud of the heroes of Gitmo. And that's the name of a short documentary film about my book,
Right.
Heroes of Gitmo, and it's on YouTube.
Yes.
Everyone can access that. But it truly is very different than Hogan's Heroes,
Yes.
or of, say, Andersonville, which was an infamous
To us, yes.
prison camp during the
Civil
Civil
War.
War, where there was even cannibalism involved. So, we did a really good job, and people should be proud of that.
We're proud of people like you who do that, for sure. So what other things kind of in this book, because I'm going to be telling our audience after my pre-interview with you, I said, you know what, Major Granger, I think we need to have you like pop up throughout throughout the next couple years as we get this, call to action going. Your assessment of it meant everything to me, as did, I will tell you, I actually kind of cold emailed on LinkedIn, the 9th Secretary of the VA, Dr. Shulkin, because, I have his book here for this interview, and you can see I've got all these little paper clips everywhere because it was one thing after another, because I felt that during my 1-year tour of duty, I call it, at the VA. I volunteered as a volunteer physician to do the traumatic brain injury second level screening. I was only there a couple days a month, but what I learned was in this book. But I'm not sure what it's like on a higher level. And he was so generous, as you have been. And he goes, well, I've got to fly across the pond. Do you have even a rough draft of the book? I said, sure. And I said, I'll get it right to you. Thank you so much for reading. He goes, what if I don't like it? I said, then tell me how to change it. I said, then tell me what your perspective is. We will either add it or change accordingly, because this book is a conversation. This is not something to open and close a book. No, this begins the conversation of the United States of America taking care of their veterans from the get-go, because this is our 250th anniversary. We have not taken care of them since the inception, as Brian Kilmeade showed us in some of his articles about and his literature about our founding fathers. Some did really well. Some were imprisoned. Some took their own lives. It's not been an easy afterlife, after the service, has it?
No, it hasn't. And since I'm on social media every day, and I use actually AI every day,
Oh, okay.
to help with social media, but also to have conversations. A conversation I had with Grok
Okay.
almost 2 years ago now had to do with philosophical and psychological aspects of service.
Mm-hmm.
And it led me to come up with an idea that Grok actually named VA Grok.
Okay.
So kind of a therapy agentic chatbot.
Uh-huh.
But there are all kinds of concerns about it. And then last March, I believe it was, 2025, I read an article in an AI newsletter that I get daily. That's how fast this thing is going.
Okay.
From the New England Journal of Medicine, by a team at Dartmouth,
Yes.
who had found that when they exposed several hundred depressive patients to this chatbot, which had enormous constraints on it,
Mm-hmm.
that 51% showed a reduction in depressive symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
and over 30% showed a reduction in anxiety,
Yeah.
which I think is similar to that of a human therapist. So with a 1 to 130 ratio of therapists to those who need a therapist, this is a way to scale.
This may be a
at
way.
least-
This may be a way, because I thought we had said we weren't going to go here, and here we are.
Well, the reason I put it in, and we can move on with the book, is
Yes.
that the journaling is the thing that caught my attention, because when you have a conversation
Right.
with an AI chatbot, now it remembers.
Okay.
A year ago,
It
they
did
didn't
it?
have memory.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And I
Yeah.
think what's key with this idea is that, and where Dartmouth wants to go with it,
Mm-hmm.
is that it would be introduced to recruits. You would journal in it however much or however little, but it would be able to catch those interactions
Mm-hmm.
that may be a yellow or red flag, and then notify a human being.
Right. And we will get
And
back to that. I mean, I promised you. You'll be coming back to that with some of our experts from The Ohio State University as well, who were just here the latter part of last year, particularly those who have been, they're veterans themselves, So let's get back to the book if we can. I got you with that. It's still in that controversy, but with the journaling, with what you've been able to do, because I know you write letters to congressmen, to heads of industry.
I do.
I mean, and
I'm not shy.
I know, and I think that's wonderful, because where this is going, it will be really very helpful. But let's get back, if we can, to the book, just a little bit about getting out of the military service. And we've talked a bit about
Sure.
the VA,
So,
so go ahead.
You mentioned, I think, a personalized transition plan. And I
Yes.
think the personalization of the transition is essential, because there's some of us, when I was over 40, I just wanted to get home to my family.
Right.
I didn't need that much of a transition. I needed to get back to my routine.
Yes.
And for some of us, they don't have a routine. The 20 to 30-year-olds may not have a routine,
Right.
aside from the military. And the military is an easy life, right? You don't have
Well,
to think
it's
about what you're going to wear,
the
where you're going to
the
go,
the
what you're going
easy
to do,
hard
eat.
life. The easy hard life. That's what I would call
Right.
it.
The easiest job is that will ever, terrorize you at times. But, uh, you know, I think in the book you recommended 4 weeks at home, followed by 4 weeks back at the base.
That's Dr.
Um,
Thakur, right? Exactly.
and I think that's great. It's a great starting point. It's a great way to show not just that you care about the veteran, or the person who's now a veteran or the guardian, but to actually help them in an immersive way,
Right.
that they can learn skills, be exposed to ideas, job placements, things of that nature are just so essential when you first come back. Uh,
I think that comes from my rehab medicine training. Okay. I will tell you, no one was more shocked walking in the VA than I was. No one. I mean, I went through the same thing you did. I mean, I go in, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I had to come in for a physical. Okay. Make sure that I was a healthy enough volunteer physician. The first one the VA had run into, according to them. Anyhow, so I went in there and they said, last four. Last four what? Like 3 times the young lady never looked up at me. And I just thought, I come from the world of ability. We in rehab medicine want our patients to have the lowest disability rating because we want to bring them to able-bodiedness as soon as possible. And I think that this is going to take a complete role reversal here. We are,
Dr.
go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Gordon, we have to get rid of that.
We have to.
This idea,
Exactly.
if you have a DD 214,
Yes.
which is proof of active duty service, and it says on there that you were deployed, you served in a combat zone,
Yeah.
take care of the veteran. All the money and expertise and time and resources spent on verifying service-related. Are you kidding
I
me?
know. I don't understand it either. I really don't. As a matter of fact, I think I shared with you that this idea of the book was born 2010 when I was flying back and forth from Ohio to Santa Monica, where Boom Boom Mancini from my high school was helping us do the first documentary saying, hey, the blast injury causes a TBI, okay, Operation Resurrection. And I'm getting, into that little shuttle bus taking you over to your hotel. And this gentleman looks up at me again at my logo and says, what's wrong with you Yanks? In a very Australian accent. And I said, pardon me? He goes, why don't you take care of your veterans? And I'm there like, well, I'm thinking this is a pretty serious conversation for a 5-minute ride. You know what I mean? And I said, what do you mean? And he pulls out his wallet and he shows me a gold card. It looks like the gold American Express card. That's exactly what it looked like. Goes, when I got out of the service, this is what I got. And this gives me free education up to X amount of years and some for my children. This gives me free health care anywhere in the country, whenever and wherever I need it. And this gives me the first dibs at job interviews in the areas of which I specialize. Why don't you do that? And I thought, why don't we? Now is the time. You all are now going to be, the people who are coming into the military now, 1% of us. Why can't we do that? It's long overdue. It's 250, years overdue. Why don't we do this?
Right. So we're kind of fighting ourselves, aren't we?
Exactly.
And even with the Doge and the exposure of corruption and waste and fraud and abuse, in my own VA, they designated $21 million for some capital projects in 2018.
Oh, okay.
Now, these were exterior projects.
Oh.
Like HVAC, the exterior machines and parking. And if you go to the Northport VA on Long Island, New York, which services 180,000 veterans, one of the largest concentrations in the country.
Okay.
The parking lots still aren't done, but they'll have one that's closed at any one time. Who gets to the VA first in the morning? all the workers,
the
and
employees,
they
yeah.
take all the spots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's no spots for me. Wait, I can walk.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind walking. But what about all my veteran, my guardian brothers and sisters
Right.
who
Right.
have trouble walking?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it breaks your heart. $21 million in 2018, and the projects still aren't done.
Yeah.
And every time I go, I give my congressman an update.
It's still closed. It's still not working. Yeah, that's for sure. And that's one of the things that we hope to do. You know, in 2026, everybody's going to be running again, except for the people who aren't running in Congress and a few. But I mean, this is the time to make our voices heard for our guardians, you know, for sure. I definitely agree with that. What did you say about the term service related? Service related.
Yeah, you can throw that out.
Okay.
With the term disability
Okie
and
dokie.
all the ratings.
Yeah.
We don't need to be rated or cut up into little pieces. We're whole
Absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
We're human beings that just need to be cared for, like President Lincoln promised.
Right.
And I know in some of the literature, I was very interested in finding out about these ratings that you get eventually. And they said, well, we have to divide you up and prioritize you because there aren't enough resources. And I thought, what?
I know.
If you just eliminate the nonsense for service-related, chase your tail, you have plenty to take care of all of us in a respectful way that honors our service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all wrote a blank check for everything up to including our lives.
Right.
And the guys and gals who lost that bet are in the ground.
Yes.
And the rest of us are still here. And thank God I'm not nearly as needy of what the VA has to offer than many of my brothers and sisters in arms.
Mm.
But you got to take care of these people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It has to be, and it has to be from the moment that I said in my early years, because again, I wasn't used to any of this. And I went to several of the bigger military bases, Fort Bragg, which I loved, Fort Hood, not so much. You know, it was a different feel. And somehow Ohio to Fort Bragg, they talk to you, but Ohio to Texas, not necessarily. You know? It was just very different. But in those military installations, I could see people just leaving. I mean, they're given a handful of cash, and at that time, a handful of OxyContin, and sent off the base, and that's it. I go, this is not riding off into the sunset. You know what I mean? That's why we're talking about this D-Boot camp. We need a coordinated effort, just like when you graduate from college or you graduate from high school. You've got a plan moving forward, and they're leaving without a plan in a world to which they've never formed their own plan. You know, I mean, it just is amazing to me. Now, you do so much, Major Granger, to keep veterans, military families, veterans families, guardians families connected. Kind of what you were saying about your great technology with the AI and the chatbot and what that's going to be doing, what it's doing now, what it is capable of doing in the future. You keep people connected with your social media. And I'd like you to tell me just a little bit about what drove you to that. Because how many people do you, 150,000 to 200,000 at any one point in time paying attention to what you're saying?
Yeah, it came actually from a selfish desire to, reconnect and also market my book.
Oh, okay.
And then to connect with other veterans through the book about their experience.
Yeah.
And encourage them to write their story.
Gotcha.
It's a lot easier now than it used to be.
Okay.
And there are a lot more resources out there. But anyone thinking about writing what happened to them, I hope you kept a journal or a diary. It helps.
Right.
But through social media, you can connect. Like you gave me in our talk last week, you turned me on to Face the Fight.
Yes.
And I went to the website and I got to the very bottom. I go, oh, founding members, and they have USAA and others, but there must be over 100 sponsors, and they're all, military connected, Just look at them. Hope for the Warriors, Irreverent Warriors, MOAA, Rally Point, DAV, all these, it's just endless. And they're all together on this one website.
Right, right.
And there's one fight, there's one fight, which is to end
Right.
veteran
Right.
suicide. If that's our focus and
Right.
that's our hope and that's what we're going to do, we can do it. And it takes books
I
like
agree.
yours
I
to
agree.
kind of rally the troops into something that makes sense, something common sense approach, something that's doable. It can be done right now. All you have to do is redirect the
I definitely
resources
agree.
and make it happen.
Exactly. And bring it to the attention of the people in the United States. I definitely agree with that. And I have to thank the Forbes Foundation who talked me into doing this and then provided me with a co-author, Ezra Beyer, who was just a phenomenal young man who is not a guardian himself, but whose best friends are a Marine platoon. Okay. And so they had everything to do with so many of the quotes that you liked in the book so far. We hope that you can continue with that. So we have to thank them. It is a group effort. Face the Fight USAA is on one side. Elizabeth Dole Foundation is their other major for caregivers. And we're very proud of having the 8th Secretary of the VAB in Ohio and Secretary Bob McDonald, who also is in the book and speaks about utilizing the nonprofits. We're here to help. We can take care of things. This is not draining your resources. Just get the people to us so that we can carry out our job. And I think that we do have the beginning of a movement here. And I'm getting the little, notice it's about time for us to wrap up this podcast with the promise of more to come. What other words of wisdom do you want to share with us today? It's up to you.
Oh, I think we should refocus on you. You're so kind and generous, but this woman is phenomenal. She's on a mission, and a mission from God.
It is a mission from God.
She is focused. She's probably the most brilliant person available to veterans right now about what's really bothering us, what really is a thing that we need to have help with. And God bless you and thank you. And I'm here for you as a resource.
We will be back.
I'm just privileged to be part of it.
Yeah, well, we will be putting the resources that you sent us, we'll be accompanying this podcast. We'll also get the Dartmouth study. And I have to smile about that, Major Granger, because you had no idea of this, but I get this little nod when you mentioned that again, that I cannot omit my favorite Dartmouth 90-day wonder graduate in World War II, Ensign James Gordon, my dad. So he was there at Dartmouth as one of the...
There's your connection.
It's my connection. So the moment you brought up and I heard it in my ears, Dartmouth, I said, okay, yeah, we're going to have to bring back and do this. And I could kind of feel my dad's presence saying, you better bring me up too. It was really true. And he was one of those, young men who just graduated from high school. So had a half semester in college, and December 7th and he and his buddies walked 20 miles to sign up for the war the next day on December 8th. So it was
That's
really
impressive.
Very cool. And he was,
Well, I'm glad we have that connection now because it needs
we do
all
have
hands
that
on
connection. Exactly. That's very good. Yes, as a Navy person, he would absolutely love that. So I can't thank you enough for joining us. I look forward to you reading some more chapters. And again, what my goal is you bring a couple experts from the book on to do some things, and then bring you back for the next overhaul, and then the next and the next. So I really do appreciate your taking the time for your analysis. And I ask everybody in our audience to please, pay attention to this movement that's starting, in our January podcast, continuing here, and be thinking of ways that you can help make our nation better. In our world, our Resurrecting Lives world, we think it's simple. Resurrect a hero, strengthen a nation. Think about that. We'll see you on the next podcast. Bye-bye.
If you are thinking about harming yourself or attempting suicide, tell someone who can help right away. Call 911 for emergency services. Go to the nearest hospital emergency room. Call or text 988 to connect with the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This podcast is made possible thanks to a grant from the Fred and June McMurray Foundation, and it's produced by the Resurrecting Lives Foundation at the Sycamore Studio. Music is written, performed, and graciously provided by Tim Beckley. Remember, when you work toward brain injury recovery, it is best to journey with a friend and keep your gait steady and your spirit strong. Finally, always seek shelter from your storm.
Baghdad, the Basra, the Boston, the Bakersfield. The hottest battle I ever fought is raging inside of me. My brain has been battered, scrambled and rattled, and no one knows what's going on.